Shayla McGhee. My family and I have lived through a water-damaged house remodel and mold illness. I'm not a doctor, just a person with a passion for health, nutrition, and science. I do my best to cite my research with medical documentation. Today, I want to talk about signs, symptoms, and when to test your home for mold. The first thing I want to talk about is not sure if you have mold. I lived in this spot for about 3 years before I finally got our house tested. We kept coming back to the start of fall every year with a damp floor at the bottom of our stairs. You may think I've never had flooding, just minor water issues. To put in perspective, mold can grow in 24 hours without proper drying and cleanup. Do you have any unexplained health issues? Not saying this is the case all the time, but in many cases, mold can be the root cause of your issues. One major scientific study talks about neurological syndrome being the result of some people who have been exposed to mold. With this being said, one study that stuck out to me was many people who dealt with mold illness and all the outcomes that come with it usually started with an already present autoimmune condition. Conditions often that mold are the root cause of are Candida, H. pylori, MCAS. To kind of go a little bit in depth of that, Candida oftentimes is like yeast overgrowth inside of your body. So oftentimes the symptoms that can come with that are a white tongue, sugar cravings, actually unexplained weight gain. H. pylori, some weird symptoms that come from that one are hiccuping, acid reflux, sensitivity to a lot of different foods, which kind of overlap into the MCAS, which is mast cell autoimmune, I think, response or something. I need to look into that. But MCAS is the sensitivity to different foods. So like things that are high in histamine are also high in oxalates. And so things like spinach, strawberries, citrus foods, vinegars, and people can be sensitive to different things on that realm. For instance, like we were sensitive to like lemons over limes or limes over lemons. And my husband could have white vinegar instead of like rice vinegar. So where to start with testing your home? I would get mold testing. I would try to find somebody local. There are a couple box order systems that you can order and they can test the air. They come with like little blowers that can test the air in certain areas and they're a lot less expensive and more cost effective, especially for the mold journey being a very expensive journey. And then this is an essential process into starting the process because you need to know what mold you're dealing with. There's mold lying in every house, every building that we're in. It just depends on if it's a toxic mold. So black mold is what I was dealing with, and there's many levels of different types of mold. Once you've gotten mold testing and see if you have mold, you always set up containment and remediation. And there's a bunch of local remediation companies, whether you're where I'm at or a different area, they deal with water damage. And the one thing to take into consideration with remediation is that they only remove sections that have moisture level of, I believe, 50% or more. For instance, in our basement, they cut off 2 feet from the bottom of our stairs because we had water damage all around the whole entire basement, but we had mold up into the walls. So that was a little bit jarring to find out. Where to start with your health? Find a naturopath who specializes in mold and understands mold. I do want to have a section on this. There is an online doctor. Her name is Dr. Jess, MD, and she's a great resource. She does charge money, but she's a doctor. So she has a lot of medical background in this. She worked in hospitals, but she also leans more to the natural medicine side from supplements and health things that you can do. She trademarked the statement, kill, bind, sweat. So I kind of follow that in my life. Try to kill the bacteria, whether it's Candida, H. pylori, you bind it with a binder, and there's a whole slew of binders that you can do from sensitivity to non-sensitive. And then sweat is I sweat every day in my sauna and work out as much as I possibly can. Kind of like the pinnacle of all of this is that dealing with some of these health issues, just like starting in this area. Are you dealing with any illnesses from skin issues, from eczema, acne, rashes, red face, headache, MCAS, candida, fatigue, anger, anxiety, insomnia, and breathing issues? I dealt with really bad anxiety. I had my first panic attack in the middle of our mold situation on my kitchen floor that's behind the camera. I laid on the floor. My chest was heavy. I couldn't get out of the anxiety attack. And my husband was dealing with an immense amount of anger during our molds. We were noticing that was a big area of concern at the start of their journeys was women were dealing with anxiety or postpartum depression, which can be hand in hand, and men were dealing with anger. My goal is for everybody who has mold illness or water damage in their house to pinpoint it to the best of their capabilities. Whether they have symptoms this in depth or they just have the start of symptoms, I want you to get out of your house. I don't want that to say that. My passion and goal is to help people find healing. So I hope that you find healing on this journey and that this is a little bit helpful of a video for you to start your journey or whether you're in the middle of your journey.